Hello, my name is Stone Fan. I am a dissident from China, and now as the presidential election is upon us, I would like the American people to listen to my story. As much as I love the United States and I am indebted to it for giving me asylum, there are some serious problems in the present America. My story begins in the early 1980s. I was a student in one of the Shanghai's universities. At that time, Chinese dissidents were involved in a campaign to change the oppressive political climate and living conditions. I was part of this campaign. The campaign met with much resistance and repression from the Chinese government. Because of my involvement, I was put on the Chinese police blacklist. Being on the police blacklist could cause me to lose everything, even my prospects and a future. I was determined to fight back. The problem was, how could I? It is not easy to revolt against the government, especially a communist one. In 1982, I went to the U.S. consulate to ask about study abroad. This is where I met with American Cultural Consul David Hess. After meeting and talking with Hess, I was invited to his home on several occasions, along with my classmate, Miss Jane. Not long after this, the police started following me and Miss Jane. Why did it happen? There was no law in China forbidding civilians to visit foreigners, but there was a secret policy in the government that forbade all contacts between civilians and foreigners, even in the ordinary talking. It is absolutely against the law. China needs law only, but not any absurd police which is detrimental to the law. When we became aware of the police tabs on us, we informed Hess. Hess told us that if we were arrested, the American government would try to rescue us. He also explained that he wanted to get information and evidence about any arrests to the American government. Several months later, in May 1983, Miss Shang and I were arrested. Because of Hess's promise that America would get involved and help us, we believed without a shadow of a doubt that the American government would come to our aid. We believed because if your friend invites you to his house as a guest, and when you leave his house you are assaulted by his enemy, isn't the friend responsible for any harm incurred? I was quite excited about Hess's words because I thought it would be meaningful and effective if the American government intervened in People's Republic of China, or PRC, justice cases with good reasons and cause. Having the American government intervene would effectively help improve the legal system and humane rights situation in China and force the PRC government to rule the country in accordance with the law. Along with the benefits to the people of China, it would be good for the world, including the Sino-U.S. relations. During this time, the PRC established diplomatic relationship with the United States 3 years ago, but still practicing some of the unscrupulous habits of the past. It did not recognize or understand the value of the international community. Not long after our arrest, the American government kept their word and began to take great actions. For one, the American government managed to obtain the details of the case. Second, 4 American newspapers released news about our situation of wrongful imprisonment. Third, the American government stated that they would cancel the president's visit to PRC if the case was not solved. And fourth, after secret negotiations, Belgian Deputy Prime Minister Mr. Jean Gaulle was commissioned to meet secretly with me in prison. We tried our best to cooperate regardless of the life-threatening risks. For instance, in prison, Ms. Shang asked someone to take a message to the consulate and contacted the American reporters delegation. At one point, I put my wife at risk and asked her to call Hess and update him on our situation. Although President Ronald Reagan was involved, Deng Xiaoping, the real ruler of China at the time, was still truculent and unreasonable. He insisted that they arrest us because we entered the American consulate without the permission of the authorities. He insisted the case was a home affair. He lied and deceived the United States because the so-called crime on our written judgment was, I gave away confidential documents to a foreign country under their instructions. Of course, a foreign country means America. The country of Shanghai brought forth no proof against the defendants. This was to be expected because I never read or touched any confidential documents in my life. Although the American government made great effort, they had to quit at last, for we were still PRC citizens. Even though there was no proof of our guilt, I received a 12-year sentence and Miss Sheng received a 3-year sentence. In 1994, I was finally released from prison. This ordeal was a tremendous hardship. I could have been killed at any time. My wife was forced to divorce me, and she had a serious illness with no money to see a doctor. I lost everything. No job, no family. Even had to beg to eat. After getting things together in 1995, I left Shanghai and went to Hong Kong. I stayed there 2 years, and in 1997, I came to America. While in America, I spent 10 years, from 1997 to 2006, completing 2 books on modern history of the People's Republic of China, almost 1,000 pages. The books contain the background and the process of the case. And in 2004, I became a U.S. citizen. There's one point I should emphasize about my case. The American government was regarded as a criminal defendant by the Shanghai court during the case. It was an insult and humiliation to our great country. I have no idea if this set a precedent in American history, but I believe it is a very serious and terrible accusation.